Okay, today's video we are going to talk about whether Google reps are useful to your business and can you get results with them. Long story short, there's good and bad to everything in life, and I will give my honest review here, which is the same thing with this. Ultimately, I've seen plenty of Google reps come and go, hundreds of them over the last 15 years dealing with them for the businesses that I run and that our clients run, in which I interact with and run across there, and can tell you just like kind of the good and bad of the Google reps, what they're offering, what they kind of need improvement on, and try to go into as much honest detail about this as I can. Ultimately, you can find a lot of information out there, good, not so good, and there's specific reasons for this that I'm going to go through that you should know before using a Google rep. And so with that said, I'll go into the details on when and how you should use the Google rep, and not going into it blind and potentially running into problems like a lot of our clients have at our PPC firm across the years, and including and up to today. That said, there is only so much I'm going to share here, first of all, as I don't want to basically piss off Google. I run a PPC agency, which, yes, it seems like this is one-sided information, as Google rep offers technically what I offer, which those do not equal each other, which I'll explain exactly why that is. But I'm also helping people with Google, and I don't want to piss Google off. That's my bread and butter. That said, people hire PPC agencies like my own that of course are being honest, which are very few out there that actually are, like 10% or less, know what they're doing and you get your money's worth with them. That you're supposed to be a third party, advocate for their business and kind of decipher the bullshit versus the non-bullshit as it comes from Google, so that they have an honest third-party opinion. It's ultimately just like anything else. If you were to do radio advertising, you would want to know if radio advertising works from someone else other than the radio company selling you the ads and the salesperson selling you the ads. This is very similar to that. And honestly, a little bit obviously worse, just from the standpoint that Google doesn't really have any competition. The radio place knows if they piss you off, that customer could go somewhere else. With Google, it's almost like they don't give a shit because you have to use Google. For a lot of businesses, you have to use Google. So ultimately, they're able to kind of get away with a lot in terms of what they do, including and up to what they recommend you do. So anyway, as much as I'm kind of risking, what we do here and what I do here to make money here on a daily basis, I do feel someone needs to point these things out, because routinely what happens at our ad agency all the time is we'll get great results for the client. Google rep contacts the client. They do what the Google rep says. Their ad account goes from spending $100 a day to $300 a day overnight. Bang. Just because they applied all the recommendations and they didn't know any of this would happen. And then it happens, and then they learn the lesson. They touched the stove, it was hot, they now know not to touch the stove. But it's good to obviously know what you're in for before you do this stuff, because my problem with it is people really don't, which I guess I understand from the other side. How could you tell somebody to warn something of something that they themselves don't exactly know what's going to happen? But respectively, what they're recommending to the client is better results, but they don't actually put into reference what they're recommending you do actually is going to do for you. It's just, hey, and which most other PPC firms that I compete against here do the same thing. They tell you, okay, this is good. Well, what's it going to do? And they're not going to tell you what it's going to do. You're going to find out after you do it. And if you're not, what happens what's also bad is you're going to do it and then you're going to go back to work and running your company. You check back in your account a week later, your account just spent $2,000-$3,000 and you got no value from it because it wasn't the right changes. Or you make a change and you don't notice at all, the spend didn't go up that much, but it was a trickle of maybe $500 a week that was wasted, that from now on to the next year you didn't notice the change, and now you got $20,000 down the hole. One example of which, Google loves to recommend broad match now, versus I never ever use broad match keywords. I use exact or phrase match because it's too wasteful most of the time. There's certain PPC people here, even on YouTube, that says broad match is okay now. I don't agree with that. You do more keywords and you do them in phrase or exact match. You don't do broad match because, ultimately it's not that hard to find out, make all the variants of how people search for your product or service and then target them all, so you don't have to hope that the computer figures out what it is that your ad should actually show up in front of, which most businesses are very complex, your customers are very complex. A computer is not going to know your best perfect customer. And to save time, using broad match is just dumb because you're going to end up having half of the clicks that you're paying for or more just being complete waste. So anyway, they'll recommend this to the clients. It blows up their budget and it wastes their money. And even though I understand what Google is trying to do is they're trying to get you, of course, to spend more money. But besides that, they want their ad algorithm, as they've been trending for a while, recommending things, coming out with things that allow their system to spend your ad money and see how they see fit. With their ad system is really sophisticated and eventually will get you great results. But what about the time between the time that you do these extra changes and the time you start making money? A lot of businesses can't run they're running on tight margins. They can't run at a loss for a while the algorithm's figuring out the new changes. This is why PPC strategists, scrappy PPC strategists that really know what they're doing, are worth their weight in gold, because they're able to do things on a small scale basis, make money, reinvest that, and do that over and over again to build up an account to a much bigger size. Not just do something that's going to immediately open the floodgates, lose a shitload of money, and then eventually work. It's the same thing what PPC softwares do. They're not great at managing accounts unless you count, eventually getting results as, getting results or as good enough. In my book, and if you can't afford a PPC agency, you read and you figure out how to do it yourself. You figure out how to do things that are going to be efficient all the way up to where you eventually want to be, because you won't run out of money that way. Before you get to the top. But anyway, I'm going to say some truths here that other people on YouTube aren't saying, so that people that only use YouTube to get their information about how to do Google Ads can find it. You can find a hell of a lot more information on Reddit, where people are more anonymous there, obviously, that are willing to just spill the beans on this. And you'll see from actual PPC strategists like myself or agencies like I run, just what people know and are, what their opinions are on it and are saying, given, like myself, they get to see lots and lots of reps, what they're recommending, and then what happens. So, and ultimately the reps aren't going to tell you a back history on their performance, which they logically should. They don't tell you the last 10 recommendations they made, their clients weren't happy about it, or their Google's customers weren't happy about it. All you know is they make a recommendation, they sound smart, you make the change, and then later on, they're nowhere to be found. So anyway, Google reps, by the way, are not all the same. If you spend enough money, you will get fairly good, competent in-house help. But if you want to know what you have to spend, it's tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands a month to get that good in-house, American help. And that help can be fairly good because they know the inside and out of the different features of Google. So it's still not everything, but if a new feature comes out, they know of it and they can recommend it to you, which is where Google reps can come in handy. And they could, ultimately look at your account and understand which of the features of what they have kind of should be used. They're not going to build out campaigns for you. They're not going to make great ads for you. They're not going to help you with your tracking. They're not going to do 98% of what you actually need to do in terms of the physical work to get great results from Google Ads. But they will tell you about the new features and what they do, and maybe the few combinations of features that you should try out. That's where the Google reps really come in. If you're expecting the Google rep to make you tons of money, you're thinking about it wrong. For everybody else that it's not spending this big money already, which the more you spend, the more aggressively they're going to want to try to help you. You get stuck with Indian help or other flavors of outside contract help, which, by the way, I'll just say, what I'm saying here, I'm just regurgitating, by the way, Google here from Reddit and other places that are reflecting what's going on. What Google will do, as per what I've read, like on Reddit, people have investigated this, they hire outside call centers to do the customer service for them on these smaller accounts that are not huge accounts. And what do every other company in the world that hires outsourced customer service, what do? Or sales, for that matter, what do? They come up with a KPI to grade what they're getting for their money. For customer service is what's the least amount of money they can spend to serve the average customer's questions. That's always what the goal is with customer service and call centers. So why would it be any different if Google was going to hire an outside call center to handle their reaching out to their customers, which is really just trying to get them to spend more money? Why wouldn't they have a KPI that says to know what they're getting for their money? Because there's obviously a point to this, otherwise they wouldn't do it at all. Basically, why wouldn't they have it? It makes logical sense. The more money that they can generate in terms of increased ad budgets for Google, the more that they're going to want to have that call center keep their contract. And then, because obviously if they, why would you not do that? Otherwise, you switch call centers and try to see if that call center can get you more revenue per dollar you're spending on the rep's time and reach outs. And with there not being any alternatives from Google for most businesses, it doesn't matter if that, the quality of the device, as long as the revenue goes up. They were able to get clients to up their ad budget. Now, Google could claim that, they're offering quality advice, but here's the thing as well. Why is it that, PPC, just like the radio analogy before, you wouldn't if I had some advertising that I was selling, why would you believe me, the salesperson and company, how good that advertising does? For some reason, because it's Google, people think that the rep has to have quality information. It's still one-sided advice. So, yes, it's Google, and everybody wants to love Google, and that's great and everything else. But you also have to, just think logically about this. Google's still a publicly traded company. They're bound by law to put their shareholders first, not you. So if they could get you to spend more money, even if it means that you are going to make less money, they're technically legally obligated to do that. And so you have to really think about that and put things into perspective that way in order to understand what you're getting for free from Google in terms of the help they're offering through their Google reps. So ultimately, most calls/emails from Google come with prepackaged information. You'll get calls, emails saying, oh, you should do this, this, and this. And they try to make it seem real urgent to get you into a pattern interrupt so you're not thinking about anything. Just like the, I won't go there, but, basically, one thing, the easiest way to effectively get somebody to do something is to scare them a little bit, if you will, or make them concerned, and then present the solution before they have time to really think it over. Because you generally bypass any logical thinking about it and just do it. So ultimately, the information that they're providing you is pretty much what Google, given, as you know, they're using an outside call center for this lots of times, based out of India or what have you. They're being told what to say to the customers. This isn't like, this is a whole, they're not outsourcing a call center and all these call center agents are PPC strategists. Far from it. They're told what to do. Raise the ad spend. But secondarily to that, sometimes it's get people to switch to PMAX campaigns or get people to turn auto apply recommendations, because they can't just go in your account themselves and do that. They have to get your permission. So they hire these Google reps to call people, and then they comp them on how many people they can, for instance, get to do the auto apply recommendations, to turn those on. Despite, and at that point, obviously, it's irrelevant as to whether or not that will make the client more money. It's because that's what they're being comped on. And they're being paid by Google. They have to do what Google says. Obviously, they're going to lose their contract. Google wants to use their system to run your ads themselves. They don't want you running your own ads because they can make their systems better, they think, doing things that way. And of course, it's going to make them more money at the end of the day. So these contractors are not PPC strategists. They are instead commissioned sales reps. And this isn't just me talking out my ass here. You can go and read on Reddit. I've also seen on Google, on LinkedIn, Google reps talking about how they increased revenue for Google working as a Google rep. Well, that showed right there, then and there. I wish I had that LinkedIn profile where I seen that. But it showed right there, to me, right then and there, that it's not about making the client money at all. Which, if you thought of that, that was what it was in the first place. We're very naive, because ultimately, why would it costs Google money to have people reach out to you actively? It's not like you're asking them for help; they're coming to you. Obviously, that there's a motive behind it, and for the most part, if Google's goal is to get you to raise your ad spend, and it typically, think about this now, if it's hard to raise your ad spend on your own without also raising the cost per lead or lowering your ROI at the same time, how is the Google rep going to call you and in 5 minutes do that for you? It's very hard to do anyway, even if you're an expert in your field, even if you're a PPC strategist like me, to do that. So naturally, there's two things there that that they can do. They're motivated to do one but not the other, and you're motivated to make more profit. They want to make profit for themselves. So ultimately, I talk to Google reps because I can kind of think critically about what they're suggesting, and sometimes it's okay. But for somebody who knows nothing, and then now just going to say yes because it sounds, it's Google, it sounds good, you're opening potentially a can of worms, like some of our other clients have had a problem in the past. And like I said, it's the sales, the company who wants to sell you something is offering the advice. Any other company, you would think that was not to be at least automatically trusted. Again, Google provides good advice sometimes. But why is it that people just, it's like a doctor's opinion. Like you go to the doctor, whatever the doctor says you do. Why is it that people just automatically do it? That I don't know. You rarely get just one throat to choke. So, in other words, you get bounced around like a ping pong ball between Google rep and Google rep to Google rep. You don't get one Google rep. Very, very rarely will you get one Google rep that stays with you for years and years and build up your account like an outside strategist like myself was. That's the basis of the relationship most of the time, or should be. You get a rep who will come in and make suggestions for you, and then 90 days later you realize your account just blew up and you didn't get any more sales. When you want to go choke that person for giving you that advice, guess what? It's a different rep now. And you'll never be able to talk to that person because they were reassigned to another account. And for me, being a little bit tinfoil hat focused here, to me it just seems like it's too hard for a Google rep to explain why something doesn't work, so they just don't train them on that, and then they just, they do round robin type assignments to where they don't have to understand how things work. They just have to understand how to get you to say yes to certain things, so that, and bottom line, that's all that matters anyway for them. So why would they want to add the extra expense of having to explain and deal with something that didn't work and then trying to do something to help them fix that so they can continue the relationship? It's just too hard to manage. It's too difficult to manage. For that matter, PPC strategy is so hard and so difficult, you're not even going to find people you can hire who knows what they're doing. If Google had to hire 10,000 PPC strategists or 1,000 PPC strategists for their rep department, they wouldn't be able to find them, because you can't even find PPC strategists that know what they're doing for our own firm. We've got to train people for the most part. So it's too hard to find people who know what they're doing, and for that matter, it takes so long to make them true experts, that they just don't even, that's not even the deck of cards for them. So just know, if you take the advice, you don't know what the advice does, and you take it and it doesn't work, it's going to be, sorry. And then you'll get another rep who says, I don't know what the last person did, but you should do this. And then I've just seen clients who've, they get, past rep to rep. That's the typical thing. And ultimately, a good PPC strategy, if at our agency, the clients we signed on, if I worked on their account for 3 months and then handed it to the next person, to the next person, to the next person, obviously you would know that would be complete shit work in that case, because it takes a long time to learn your business, your type of customers you're dealing with, do testing and learning from the testing. How could you possibly switch people? Nobody would work with my agency if I pawned people off to somebody else, then pawn somebody, pawn them to somebody else after them, and so forth. Then why does Google want, or why do people want a different Google rep every 3 months? Ultimately, it's because it's Google, so there's a aura of trust around Google's name, but it's free, obviously. So, let's be honest. They actively will try to cut our agency out. It's very, very common. We're working with clients, and ultimately, they'll go straight to my client. Even if they know that I'm working with the client, they will still go to the client anyway. And if the client says, oh, I have Corey managing my campaign, talk to him. If I don't do what the Google rep wants me to do for the client, they'll go back to the client again and just cut me out again. They don't give a rat's ass about me dealing with the client, because, again, they're paid based upon doing what Google wants them to do at these call centers. They don't tell them that, they owe me nothing. I understand. I can't blame them. They don't owe me anything. It costs them money to deal with me. I'm trying to save the client money and make them money. They're trying to get do what they're trying to do. So, but, just know, whatever they're telling you, if you have a PPC person you're working with, a strategist, they're going to try telling you what they want to tell you despite what your strategist is saying. And if you try to say, well, my strategist said this, they're just going to totally ignore that. And they're going to be like, well, the strategist doesn't know what he's talking about. You should do this anyway. We're Google. So how could we be wrong? They will try to make you feel everything is wrong. And if you just do what they tell you to do, everything will be, not only fine, but amazing. It all sounds really good, particularly the contractors. The inside Google reps, again, they can be pretty good. Not as good as, frankly, a good PPC strategist that just does strategy, doesn't, is not working for Google directly as a rep. But, anyway, the contractors, they will, usually I'll see it, they'll email the client and they'll say, your account is not nearly getting all the leads it could because of this, and this, and this. You should do this, and you will get more leads. Well, also the spend will go up, and the cost per lead will also go up, but they don't usually mention that. And obviously that's not guaranteed, but it's often. And they also show up after raising the spend. I've also noticed, just as a side thing, which is really not that important, but just know if you're raising your spend, you're getting profiled by the reps to come in, because obviously, which makes sense, if they're trying to get you to spend more money and they've got a list of 1,000 people that they can talk to, why would they not want to talk to the people? If you were doing it, you'd do the same thing. Talk to the people that are naturally raising the spend on their own, because that would be the person that would be easiest to convince to do more things that are going to also, along with it, raise the spend. So I'm not saying that their goal is to only get you to raise the spend directly, but they're recommending things that often raises the spend. So indirectly, that's the case. So obviously somebody who's raising the spend probably thinks Google works, even if they're not getting you to going to you to first because you raise the spend alone. It's a sign that you're be open and like to do more things with Google if you've raised the spend. It correlates. So if you're raising the spend and they're coming to you, they think, so indirectly potentially think you'll raise your spend even more if they talk to you. And then they'll get a commission or whatever. If Google reps are great here, why do PPC firms exist? I talked about this before, but trying to be very cynical here, but there's a whole PPC management industry that, an digital ad industry. It's like $1 billion a year. If all we had to do is talk to our Google rep, our radio rep, whatever, that offered free where we buy our advertising, and that was it, nobody would hire PPC strategists. We're not cheap. I charge anywhere from like $2,000 to $4,000 a month minimum for our services. And we got clients that gladly pay them. Dozens of clients to gladly pay them. Maybe not gladly, but they pay them because it pays for itself still. So why the hell do all our clients pay me? Are they stupid? Or, ultimately, again, I'm not trying to bash Google and their advice that they're trying to give, but it's not the end-all be-all, mainly because the Google rep, even if they have good information, the really good strategies that we share with you on this YouTube channel are strategies that take time to compose and put together. Anything that was easy to do, by the way, your competitors would have already been doing it. Anything that's easy in life, as you already know, as a smart person, isn't worth very much. The stuff that is worth a lot is going to take time and effort to put together. And them going in there, and their goal is to be in the call and out of the call in the shortest amount of time it's going to take to get to do what they came to recommend you to do. So, in all that stuff, very, 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 very little of what they're recommending matches up with what I'm recommending on this channel. That actually takes a little bit of work. So, it'd be nice if they would build you a SCAG campaign doing one ad per keyword for a search campaign like I do that really crushes it. They don't do that. And I'm glad they, by the way, don't do that. It creates the edge for me and my clients and for you guys who actually do it. But they're not going to do all that work for you. They're going to, again, the main thing is what you can use them for is to be aware of certain things that are new features. That stuff's great. Once in a while, what they're suggesting to you, some of it will do. Because we understand the type of stuff, we could think critically about what they're offering. So what they're offering is, only trying to get you to raise your spend, and it seems self-serving, we can do part of it, or whatever. But when you don't know anything about advertising, that's a really dicey situation. Because mainly, not just because I'm not trying to say Google is a SCAM here or anything. It's just from the standpoint that you understand your business. You've been doing your business for a long time. You understand your customers more than that rep. That rep's got to call 500 people that day. How is it they're going to know how to sell your customers better than you, even if they understand Google better than you? You got to you're going to be tasked with understanding Google enough, so if you're going to use them, so that you could put your heads together. You're not just blindly taking the advice because they could mean well, but they don't understand something about your customers that you do, such as you don't want your ads to show up for people that are typing in your competitor's name. And then with them turning on, for instance, your keywords to broad match, you start getting that. and then 3/4 of all the clicks you're now getting is going to be people typing in the competitor's name and wasting your entire budget, which I've seen that before. You're not going to be able to avoid it because you took the easy path or the easy road, which is I'm not going to worry about knowing anything. I'm just going to do whatever they say, which they don't have the information you do about your business. Lastly, here I want to mention a PPC strategist always pays for itself if you got the right one. Yeah, whereas 90% of PPC strategists out there that you can hire are pretty much either don't work or are outright scams. I'm not just saying that because I run a PPC agency. I see people's accounts all the time. People share access to their ad accounts. We can review it. I look at what the past PPC agencies do. I understand, by the way, though, from their perspective, why they do such a shit job, because generally this whole industry has been predicated on percentage of ad spend. And when you got a client who spends $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month and they're expecting to pay 10% of ad spend, and for $400 a month, you're going to make them a multi-million-dollar a year winning ad campaign on Google, you can't do jack shit for the client. You can get someone, to work on your account for an hour or two a month? That's not enough. You got competition you got to beat. So ultimately, first thing is you have to realize it's not going to be cheap and easy. But when I say easy, it's going to take time to do it. It's not impossible. By any means, it's not impossible. But you got to put in the effort to do it if you're going to win, because it's not going to be, it just takes some effort. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no opportunity there to begin with. But you got to know it's not going to be cheap. And you also still have to find the person who's legitimate and genuine and knows what they're doing. But if you find that person, every single time it's going to be worth your money to do that. It's going to pay for itself. You're going to make lots of money. So you have to be able to figure out who that person is. But the Google rep does not replace that person, mainly because they're not going to do all the grunt work for you. Google can provide ideas, but not the grunt work. The grunt work is also required, for all practical purposes. Half of what you need to do to be a millionaire from running your Google ads is the information about what works, which frankly, you don't need Google reps. You could watch my channel and get that advice here. And you got to be able to do the work. And if you take out either one of those, it's not going to work. You got to it's the whole smart and work hard thing. If you just work smart, not hard, you're going to fail. You're going to work hard but not smart, you're also going to fail. You need both to be successful in business, and this Google Ads thing is no different. So, and what a PPC strategist can do for you, like I was saying I do for our clients, is when you have the Google rep come in, you can have them meet with your PPC strategist and listen to all the suggestions, kind of pick through them and, filter out the bad, use the good. Not that they're trying to scam you again, but there's certain things that you've hired that PPC strategist, you invested in them for years, they understand your business, they understand lots of things that the rep doesn't do. They can take the good, leave out the bad, and get some use out of that rep. So if you want to say you need both, you need both. You need the rep, you need the strategist. Just the rep isn't enough to get both pieces of the formula that you need. Just the strategist, but no rep, is also not good, by the way, because me, the strategist, don't have the inner workings of Google about what features are new and which ones are working, the hottest, newest thing. I learn from Google reps all the time. I don't automatically apply the huge list of things every single rep suggests for our clients. That's not even what I'm being paid for to do anyway as well. But I listen to them. I listen on a regular basis because we keep tabs on Google and everything that they got going on by talking to the reps, just like we read articles and we read, other, email blasts and so forth that Google puts out, because we need to, and that's our responsibility, and we need to stay ahead of the game. So we just look at the Google reps as, another, it's just like the, blogs that Google puts out about the new features that they have. The reps are one source of information. Google's blog is another. We put it together to stay on top of the industry. So we use it as an information source. That, to sum everything up, is what I was trying to explain as the sum of this video, what you need to do. You can use them as an information source. You don't use it as an automatic, okay, everything they say I do. Because everything on their blog, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't read every single release that Google does and realize, okay, that's going to work for my business, that's going to work for my business, that's going to work for my business automatically. Because every business is different. Only you know about your customers. So don't just automatically do everything that they say, even though I know Google would love me to tell you to do that. Because I don't care how smart the rep you have is, they're not going to know your customers like you do, and you can't, maybe you use 80% of what they do, but you just got to be a little bit cognizant about what's going on. Is my main point here. So anyway, that's the main thing I can tell you about a Google rep. It can make you money. It's a little bit like playing with dynamite, though. I mean, it could be used for good. It can also blow your hand off if you're not paying attention. So I don't think I have too much more I can possibly share that I haven't shared about Google reps. Do your own research. I encourage you to not just take my advice, and use the Google reps. And if you're going to use the Google reps, track what they're doing. If you don't know what they're doing is good or not, okay, let them do what they are going to do to your account, and track after you've implemented those changes how things go. Maybe they're good, maybe they're not good. I've seen people automatically apply those changes and not pay attention to their account, like I mentioned before, and end up really derailing their account. And it gets to a point that if you make the changes and you don't reverse them in a relatively short period of time, all the results that your account has built up due to all the machine learning that Google has can be unretrievable at some point. Whether that's 2 weeks, 4 weeks, there's a point. So if you don't catch on to it soon enough, now you've got a permanent loss in sales that your Google Ads was pulling in before, that you didn't want and didn't need to, that you didn't need to go through. So test their changes. In other words, test it. Make sure you don't have something wrong. If something doesn't work, you can always undo the changes using the change history. So as much as I would love to be Google's favorite here and say do everything they tell you to do all the time automatically, no company deserves that kind of trust automatically. For your business, any vendor, anything any vendor is trying to sell you, you would think twice about buying and look at reviews and really think about what you're doing. Don't make this any different to help you make sure you find the right thing for your business. You always should look at new opportunities for your business, absolutely every single time. You got to decide for yourself what's right for you yourself. So anyway, with that said, I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully that puts things into perspective so you make the right decision about your business. If you have any questions about anything I shared today, you can leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person who leaves a comment on this channel. If you have any questions about any PPC strategy or anything else you're doing with PPC, leave me a comment below. I'll also answer those questions as well. And give you advice from a 15-year PPC strategist who manages several dozen PPC accounts at any given time for different clients. If you like the video, by the way, consider giving it a like and consider subscribing to this channel, as I can guarantee you if you watch my videos and you learn from the best here, you will make a ton of money with PPC. It's the best, most actionable advice you're going to find on Google about actually making money. That doesn't go through and tell you about the different features and stuff, but like how I make money with our clients' ads, guarantee the results, and how you can get those same results for yourself using the same strategies for yourself. So you should subscribe for that and that reason alone. I also, by the way, have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog where we give you step-by-step advice on how to build PPC campaigns that will also guarantee your results. So if you're looking for more in-depth information on how to build things versus on this channel, we go at a high level about the type of strategies that work. You can find great information from myself there as well. I write that blog. As a final note, we have a brand new program at our PPC agency where we're offering turnkey PPC campaign templates here as well. In which that is if you're in a market that we've gotten results in before and there's no conflict of interest with the current or past client, instead of hiring our firm outright, you can take the templates we built for that industry and copy and paste those templates into your account and get the same results for your account with very little work and only one small upfront fee to do so. If you're looking to start a new business and you want a great passive income idea, you can use the campaign templates we built up in certain markets, in plumbing, foundation repair, whatever, and do what our other clients have done, which is to take the results that they're getting from Google Ads or Facebook or what have you, whatever you're going to use, outsource the work to another provider in their local area, take 10 or 20% off the top for yourself, and have a passive income business already. Just simply forwarding all the leads to the other provider or answering the phone and then, playing dispatch there and have somebody else do the work. So, and your business is profitable purely because you have a multi-year optimized campaign by a top PPC strategist who made that campaign be able to crush anything else in its local market automatically because of that 1%er PPC guy that set up the campaign in another market and optimized that campaign for years before you even got to use it. So anyway, if you're interested in that type of thing, let me know. I'll let you know what markets we have results in and the amount of results we can get in your market or the different markets that we're in, roughly speaking. So I'll wrap it up with that. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. It was informative, help you make the right decision, and hope to see you in my next video where we have another great strategy for you there. See you there.